Good evening, everyone. I'll declare this meeting in session.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
How's it going? I see the snow is starting to melt.
Always good.
Good sign this time of year.
Not fast enough.
Yeah, nope, not this year. Okay, would someone like to move the approval of the agenda, please?
Mayor, before we move the agenda, I'd like to add an item to the agenda.
Yes.
Policy regarding signage in relationship to a letter delivered to the residents of Country Road in the last few days. I'd like to have a couple of questions regarding the policy on that, if we get a chance.
Yeah, and normally, as I mentioned, we do have a policy around adding items to the agenda, but this is a timely issue, and I see we have guests here who would have some interest in it. So let's do that right away.
And thank you, Mr. Mayor. With regard to your statement, the issue with regard to the signage didn't come up until Friday.
That's why I'm saying, yeah.
And we would have had to have it in by last Wednesday, so I didn't have the opportunity to do that, but I do appreciate your comment.
Yep, that's why.
Mr. Mayor?
Just reminding everyone that normally we don't add items last minute, right? Okay.
We can add that to the agenda, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, how about we add that at, where to? Let's do it right at the beginning here. So we'll do it after we approve the agenda.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, what did you say?
Right at the beginning, 2.11.
A. 2.11.
Okay. Would someone like to move the approval of the revised agenda?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we got a mover and a seconder. All those in favor?
Aye.
Counterminded? Carried. Okay. So, Councillor Granter, questions regarding policy and signage?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, just one or two questions with regard to the letter. And I saw the letter over the weekend. I didn't see it on Friday. And I assume the letter I got is an official letter. But the question I have with regard to the letter would be, was it sent out inadvertently with regard to not having a signature attached? In my professional career over the last 30-odd years, I've sent out lots of letters to parents and to community, and in a personal note, when you send personal letters out, you always sign a letter. Just wondering why this letter wasn't signed. It identified the department, Development and Planning Department, but it wasn't signed by an individual. And first thing I thought when I saw it would be, how official would the letter be if there's no attached signature to it? Because with today's technology, and I don't want to go on too long, with today's technology, it's easy for anyone to copy the logo off the city or copy a logo off the company and send a letter out, whether it's for meanness or whether it's accurate or not. But that's the first thought that came to mind with regard to the letter, Mr. Mayor. And I'd like to know what our policy is with regard to any letter going out with regard to either signage or any other, and from any other department that we have at City Hall, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. I guess Mr. Chair or City Manager?
What we did was basically a letter that went out to a number of people. So the letter wasn't signed. I can't say exactly why it wasn't signed. I asked staff to do exactly what they would do normally in these situations, exactly what they've done in the past.
Okay. I don't know. Yeah, is there anything else?
The other one, since there's no one else speaking, Mr. Mayor, I'll do ask another question. A little taken back, and I guess lots of times in politics we send letters out on you see letters or anything that might be controversial go out on a Friday afternoon to avoid perhaps any media. Not saying that this was the case here, but this letter was delivered by peace officers, I understand, on the Friday, March 25th, on a Friday afternoon to some residents in the Country Road area. And I know that some of them, I know my mother's 91, and I don't think anyone at that age, a senior, would want a peace officer showing up at their door, because often it brings up, well, what have I done wrong? Why is a peace officer, police officer, whether it's RNC, RCMP, or city municipal police, lots of times people can't tell the difference between the stripe on their pant legs, but yet a peace officer showing up at your door on a Friday afternoon with a letter from, in this case, from the city. So I was a little taken back by that. There perhaps could have been a better way of doing it. Does our policy state that it has to be hand-delivered? to residents, or can it be sent in the mail via, an official letter that they have to sign for, those kinds of things. So that's something that we need to have a look at as well, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, is there, in terms of, Mr. Comby, I guess, what's the practice there?
It's a standard practice to have and they're not classified as municipal police, they're municipal enforcement officers, and often they send out letters with regards to violations of development regulations or, any kind of a bylaw infraction. So it's oftentimes that they would deliver these in person.
And are they, I guess, in terms of, like, any kind of notice or, say, documentation, it would be quite typical, right, for the MEO to deliver that, whether it's a door drop or hand delivered?
That is a typical way to do it.
Yeah, it's maybe something,
We have
Councillor
sent
Granter,
letters in the mail,
we
but in
need
this
to,
case, they
reconsider.
were dropped off, and it is a typical way to do it.
Actually, I think councillors often get their packages, their agenda packages delivered at their home by the MEOs too, so it's a very typical practice. Yes?
Okay. Follow up on what Councillor Granter was referring to. He kept saying, referring to policy, and it just says in the letter, under the Urban Rural Planning Act. And I've gotten some letters from the city referring to certain sections of violation or whatever, but it was always said under section whatever of whatever act, and then probably a little paragraph underneath it sort of saying this is what it states in that policy. So I can understand why Mr. Granter or Councillor Granter asked the question, is this a legit letter, or is it something that somebody just made up and dropped in everybody's mailbox? So I've checked over the weekend trying to find out what section and what act.
The act was stated, the Urban and Rural Planning Act.
Okay, so what section?
Mr. Charters, maybe you could help us there?
I don't know the exact section, to be honest. I'd have to look it
Okay.
up.
Any other?
And we have a separate Urban and Rural Planning Act totally referring to signage.
No, the Urban and Rural Planning Act is the act that we do all of our development planning. It specifies how regulations are created, our responsibility as a municipality to create development regulations, and how we deal with things like the appeals process, for example, if there are issues with the development regulations or there's contraventions or whatever. But that's a provincial act that sets out that for all municipalities, and then we actually create the regulations. And as you know, we're going through right now the new, I guess, regulations and municipal plan that come from they derive their power from that act.
Okay, so how would, and help me out here. How does this fit into the Development and Planning Act, the fact that there's signage, I guess, disagreeing with the motion that was made and accepted at council? How would where does signage fit into that?
There's nothing specific, I guess, about the nature of signs when it comes to a motion of council. This is, as I understand it, and Mr. Charles, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but in this case, there was a complaint made about the signage. It was found to be in violation of our development regulations, and as such, staff took action to first warn residents who were in violation. And I guess, I don't know the full process, but however, that's how we would do it.
Okay. Another question. Did everyone with a sign up receive a letter, or was it only a chosen few?
Mr. Chair.
Regards to the crematorium,
Yeah.
everybody who had a sign up was supposed to receive a letter.
Okay. And I will add that I've had calls from people who didn't get a letter but had signs up.
Okay.
So I don't know, I'm not on the ground to find out who did and who didn't. Okay. Is this a legal letter that they got?
I don't know. Mr. Cummings, do you know?
Yeah.
It's not written, we did have consultations with our legal department about, what, like we would in any of these situations, not from a point of view of, prosecution, but where we are with our regulations, and are we, is this something that is a violation, and if it is, what is our courses of action? And in conjunction, as I said, with what was done in past practice, the letter was sent out. So it's not, it's an infraction, as we feel, of the regulations, and we've asked people to remove their signs, and I think it's 10 days.
So if it's not signed, then is it a legal letter? I guess that's what I'll go back to that again. The non-signature, I mean, every time,
I guess, I interpret it as some kind of notice.
but it says sincerely.
Yeah.
Plain.
I'm not sure why there's not a signature on it, and what our exact past practice has been with signature. I've asked, to follow this by past practice, but I've often, received my own letters that, you see something that's not signed by any individual. It comes from government, or it comes from, some other agency.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes?
Yep, Mr. Mayor, I have a number of questions after reading this online Saturday, and then I saw it in their email after that. And I think if I were a resident, especially an elderly resident on that street, I would have been a little upset, and I can understand how some people were stressed, I guess, by receiving a letter, whether it's an MEO coming to the door or just the content of the letter. And I fully appreciate the staff was not aware that this was coming tonight, so I do have a number of questions. So if we can't get the answers tonight, that we can get them in the next day or two, it would be fine with me. But I guess I just want to go back to the beginning and ask, when was the complaint actually received? Because the letter went out Friday, I believe, the 25th. When was the complaint actually received? Does anybody know?
March 22nd.
No.
Last week, or just prior.
Okay, can we get the specifics on that, Mr. Mayor? Maybe.
It was registered, I know. Was it in the?
It's in the circulation packet.
So it was a written letter, or?
Yep.
Yep,
Okay. Because it's not in our correspondence, or I didn't see it.
yeah, it's in our package.
Yeah.
It's in circulation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I haven't seen the
March
circulation
22nd.
because it's not working, so.
Can
You
you
haven't
find
seen
that the
circulation?
No, wait,
it came in at least a week ago?
Contact Marina if you have trouble seeing your agenda. Or,
So early last week sometime.
March
Well, it might have
22nd,
been-
I
it might have
think.
been-
Counselor?
22nd? Okay, thank you. And if I have several here, when you want.
I never saw it.
So who received the complaint, Mr. Mayor? Was it,
it was sent to my email,
okay,
and I forwarded it directly to the city manager and the clerk to be registered.
so between the time it was received and the time it went out, I guess there was some meetings taking place to discuss what action was going to take place, or?
Mr. Cumby?
When the letter came out, there were meetings scheduled, and meetings that there was conversations had with both Director Flynn and Director Charters and Manager of Development Planning, Deanne Rumbold. And at the end of it, I think it was either Wednesday or Thursday, I called a meeting in which all of us were in attendance along with Municipal Enforcement Officer.
Okay, thank you. I was going to ask about the actual section of the Urban Rural Planning Act, because it is not specified, and in my opinion, it should be. I think it's an oversight, because when you give a letter to somebody telling them they're in violation of something, normally you should specify what it is, so that they can check on themselves to see exactly what the breach is. The other questions I have were, it relates to, I think it's 3rd paragraph. Please be reminded that failure to comply may result in further action being taken by the city of Corner Brook. And yet, again, just the nature of the letter being somewhat, stress-inducing by not specifying what are the actions that can be taken. Why isn't that listed so people are better informed when they receive a letter? Is it a fine? Are they going to go to court? Are they going to go to jail? Whatever. Again, a lot of people receive an official letter, or what looks like an official letter, and when you don't specify what the actions are, I don't think it's threatening, but some people may take it that way when you don't say exactly what are the ensuing possible actions. And the other thing, Mr. Mayor, in the 2nd paragraph, states the signage erected cannot be permitted, besides the fact that nobody asked for a permit for these signs. And I guess my question is, why is that? Because they don't have to apply for a temporary sign because it's not commercial or charity. And under city sign regulations, they're not advertising a product or service. So again, these are law-abiding citizens who are expressing their legal opinion, who are expressing their opinions and have the legal right under Charter of Rights and Freedoms to do so. So I'm just wondering, if this was vetted by legal, was that taken into account? Because to me, this looks like, to me, and I'm not a lawyer, a violation of people's rights to say they can't express their opinion on their own property. I'll go further by saying there are other signs and other property in the city that have been there for, in cases, years, and not a word, and complaints have been made, and they haven't been removed. So again, how is this not, if it's not, a violation of people's rights and freedom? We can act on this in 3 days, and it takes 21 days now for anybody to do anything. So I'm a little confused on that one, and I wonder if somebody can explain it to me.
Well, Mr. Cumming, maybe you can answer, I guess, the legal issue.
I can't speak on the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, but I can speak that, the city has development regulations, and we have, a number of actions that can be taken if these regulations aren't followed. What we would hope in a situation like this is that we would send a letter and that residents would comply with the regulations.
And Mr. Mayor, I'm going back to the regulations, because the sign regulations 2, definition, C, a sign means a device or platform designed to advertise a product or service, relay a message or illustration, and includes but is not limited to advertising messages or illustrations applied directly to buildings, walls, or other surfaces, and includes flyers or handbills not delivered directly to residential mailboxes. And then it goes on temporary signs, which we have a separate policy on. So again, I'm still asking, under what regulation is this a violation?
This is, and Charles, you would know this being the mayor before, that we have, I guess, a number of streams under which we operate. One being development regulations under the Urban and Rural Planning Act. We also have regulations under the City of Corner Brook Act. Bylaws, of course, come under the City of Corner Brook Act. In this case, and again, I think I'm assuming based on the letter that the decision was made to address this via the development regulations under the Urban and Rural Planning Act. What you're referring to is a bylaw of the City of Corner Brook.
Sign regulations.
For sign regulations, right.
Which is under the City of Corner Brook sign regulations, right? So I'm just, again, I really think that this should have been specified, that sections of the Act should have been outlined and copied here, as well with whatever penalties are possible under this Act for violation of the Act, if it comes to that. I wonder, does this apply to all signs? I'll give you an example. A real estate agent puts signs on other people's properties. Do they need a permit to do that?
Mr. Cumming?
The way we've interpreted the regulations is that the real estate agents right now under our regulations would most likely need a permit as well. But again, because they're temporary signs and they usually come down when the house is sold, we've typically, and again, I went with the regulations and past practice. Past practice is that we don't do anything with the signs, and we don't act with real estate signs, and we don't act without a complaint. And we've never gotten a complaint against real estate signs, but in this case, we had a second complaint. One of those complaints was 4 months ago.
Yes, I'm aware of that. I'm just wondering.
Staff was in a position where, where it needed to make a decision.
So that was going to be another question I had, is why did it take 4 months to act on the first? We didn't act on the first complaint, so why did it take another complaint 4 months later? Why wasn't this acted on 4 months ago?
Mr. Cumming?
We had hoped that with snow clearing and with the winter coming on, that this would not have to be something that would be dealt with. This would be an issue that went away. But obviously, when we got the second complaint, then we said, no, we need to act.
So it's almost an arbitrary decision then not to do it 4 months ago.
It's a judgment call.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mr. Cumming, I understood after the last complaint that staff were looking into how we have to deal with that complaint and whether or not, I guess, and as the as Councillor pointed out, I mean, we don't want to stifle freedom of speech in any way. So there is, I guess,
There were a number of meetings held on it, over the last 4 months. And, we were just, it took them long to have the meetings and things had quieted down, so.
Councillor, you mentioned that there were signed complaints that haven't been dealt with. I'm just wondering,
Well, these go back a long time. I don't think we should get into those right now.
okay, no, but if there
I can be
are.
more specific,
But I guess that it's important, I guess, from a city perspective, that we make sure that people understand that when we receive complaints, we do have a duty to investigate and decide. Sometimes action is required, sometimes it isn't. In this case here, it looks like action was deemed necessary, so.
Well, I mean, I'll, Sim, I'm, being asked these questions here, I'll tell you that, these were my decisions. And in conjunction with my staff. And if that's arbitrary, well then, I'm at the mercy of the court. But he received a second complaint. The signage activity had ramped up. And, we felt it was more urgent after we received the second letter that we had to act.
Okay, yes, Debbie?
Okay, quick question. Was the first, and you may not be able to answer this, I'm usually asked questions that nobody can legally answer, but I want to ask it anyway. Was the first and second complaint from the same person? Or are we allowed to say that?
You don't,
I'm not asking for the name of the person.
It's been circuit council, so yes, it was the same complaint.
Okay.
I don't typically identify who the complainant is.
No, okay, that's fair. Another question? So I'm understanding that when we received, not that we received, but when the city received the first complaint, that none of the residents or council or none of us were informed that there was a complaint went in about signage.
Marina just looked it up. It was March 22nd that it was received.
Yeah, but the first complaint.
The first one was distributed pretty shortly.
It was contained in another
It
letter.
was contained in another
Okay.
letter, yes.
It was contained in another. Were the residents notified at that time that they may have to take their signs down?
That's what I'm aware of. But we didn't send out any correspondence or letters, did we?
I didn't hear the question.
No correspondence or notice was given to residents that they were in violation from the first letter, the first complaint we received.
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
What I wonder is, I heard concerns from Councillor Granter as well as Councillor Pender about the nature of the notice. I'm just wondering, if there's a constructive suggestion here on how we can provide notice to people without sending them letters. I think that, unfortunately, you have to inform people of things. They can't know until they know. So I'm wondering if there is a, I can't see another alternative, unfortunately. I can understand how people don't like to be on the wrong side of the rules, for sure. But I don't know if anyone has any ideas on what we could do.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I would say, first of all, I don't have an issue with a letter going to anyone, okay? I have an issue with how the letter is worded.
Okay.
Lack of information contained in the letter. To allow people to have the information to avail of their rights. To specify the section of the act that's being quoted and what exactly it says. To tell people exactly what further action may be taken and specify under the act so that people are better informed, they can make a better decision. If under the act it's a $50 fine, some people might say, well, I'm going to leave it there. If it's a $5,000 fine, some people might say, well, I better take that up. So I think we have a duty to inform the public when we're serving them a letter, telling them they're in violation, that they at least know what that violation is and what the consequences could possibly be. I think all letters from the city, as Councillor Granter said, should be signed by somebody, because in this day and age, who knows where that's coming from. So, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to make a motion that we rescind this letter, that it gets redone properly, and that in the meantime, we consult as part of that with legal to ensure that this is not a violation of these people's charter rights. That's my motion, Mr. Mayor. Somebody would like to second it? That's up to you.
I'll second the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
I'd like to see it reissued with clarity. is
Yeah.
what I'm-
No,
Yes.
I just don't know why we didn't start the conversation on that. I mean, if that's where we were headed, if is it the letter, how it was written, or the fact that they got the letter? I'm a little bit confused there. I don't know what it is. If it's how the letter was written, then we could have done that right off the bat. I mean, it was written wrong, and I agree, because, you know, if you're going to tell people they're in violation of something, you should tell them what it is. I agree with that. So, be going around like this and talking about, you know, we could have done that first with, what we got? Half an hour almost gone.
I think that there's a, if I remember correctly, there's a section 100 of our development
Yeah.
regulations that states a permit is required for a sign. I think that it's probably as general as it gets. Unfortunately, with development regulations, the penalties are not as clear as they are in the City of Corner Brook Act as well. Typically not summary convictions or jail time or anything like that. It's usually a much more complex process. But Mr. Charters, I mean, in terms of the process for the development regulations under the Urban and Rural Planning Act, what are the nature of things like penalties?
It would typically be fines, and they could be daily fines after the fact, but we wanted to make sure that we had enough notice for people to take the proper action. But yeah, typically it would be followed up with fines.
Right. Yes, Stephanie?
Okay, final last one. Under our regulations, where can they put those signs? Anywhere on their property, in their windows, on their roof, wherever. Where can they put those signs so that they're legal or they're allowed to do it? And that's a legit question.
Sure it is, yeah.
I'd really like to know.
Absolutely.
Because I see signs in windows, I see signs on cars, I see signs on verandas, I see it on patios. So I'd like to know from our directors, where can these people put the signs to express exactly how they feel?
Mr. Cummey?
My understanding is that the signs will not be able to go anywhere without a permit. It's very specific in the regulations what kind of sign can be located in those areas. However, since we're bringing this back, we can certainly have planning and development and our legal people review it before we bring it back.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, one final comment. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Conley. And to answer Councillor Griffin's question with regard to why, I guess Councillor Penner didn't make a motion at the beginning, it's those questions, especially the answer that Mr. Conley just brought forth with regard to all the ambiguity that's in the letter, and especially the legal portion of it. I mean, we don't want the city liable for something that went out that's not legal, and it wasn't. As from the very beginning, the very first or second question was asked with regard to if it was run through our legal department to see if there's aspects of it that's not legal. And I think that's why the questions, or at least the 2 or 3 questions I asked, and the other councillors can speak for themselves, with regard to why we asked most of those questions, just to get some of the answers out of that.
Mr. Cummey, didn't you say it went through legal?
No.
We had some discussions with legal back in February, but in this case last week, unfortunately, our legal counsel said with COVID. So.
Okay.
So, Mr. Mayor, I guess the clerk has it, but just to be clear, my question on the legality is with respect to people's charter rights to be able to protest anything that a government, including municipal, does, and that I feel that people have the right to express their feelings, and if they want to put a sign on the lawn, I don't have a problem with it. Just as if somebody wants to put a pro-Ukraine sign on the lawn, I don't have a problem with that either. And I wouldn't expect those people to have to come and get a permit from the city to do so. But our regulations say they do, which we'll probably discuss at another time. But it tells me that our policy needs to be reviewed on this matter, on signage. But anyway, Mr. Mayor, I made a motion. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you.
Do we need a motion for that? Why can't we just do it?
We have to provide, almost all direction of staff has to be provided through a motion.
Oh, good.
So the motion again, clerk, could you read it again? I've forgotten.
That's the letter and to revise that and provide clarity in terms of the sections that are more planning and options.
And to have it reviewed by legal regarding the charter rights of people to express their opinion legally.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I just want to say, when I asked the question to the chair, I don't appreciate Councillor Penner answering it.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Okay, any other comments, questions on that? I think the letter, again, I think it's, well, I think, again, regardless of any deficiencies when it comes to signatures, or the specificity, I think it is a well-understood letter. I mean, if we want to go through the trouble of, I guess who should send it, who should bring the letter into the mailboxes? Should we mail it out this time instead of sending the MEOs, or, like, how much should we push, like, there's a number of issues here. Yeah.
Everybody should get one?
Yeah, everyone that we've identified, I guess, as,
And can we
as in
change-
violation, yeah?
Okay, can we change the date, remove no later than Friday, April the 1st?
Well, that,
Chief.
Mr. Mayor, sorry, it would have to correspond to whenever the letter goes out.
Yeah.
So 10 days.
Well, it would be down to the 4th or something,
Because that's April Fool's.
yeah,
That's why somebody thought it was an April Fool's joke.
okay.
So Mr. Mayor, we did say that this letter currently that went out on March the 25th would be rescinded.
Yeah.
With the,
But after the vote, yeah.
yes, so that's right, that's a part of
After we
the,
vote.
Right,
okay.
and then
I
we'll
didn't hear
reissue,
that, so I just want to make sure.
reissue a
that's
new
part of the
letter.
Motion?
So, Mr.
Fine.
Mayor, sorry, just to be clear, that letter will be rescinded. Staff will redo the letter after they consult with legal, and then whatever date goes on it will be from the day that
Yes.
the letter goes out. That's normally within the regulations, whatever they say. I believe, Mr. Mayor, staff can tell us, I thought they said it was 10 days after the letter goes out. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't know, is there any specific notice period that you're aware of for these type of letters? Or is it more of a, again, a common practice, operational practice?
I believe it's common practice is 10 days, but we will definitely clarify.
Okay. Okay, good, we're all solid here?
Yep.
So, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Counterminded? Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a comment before we go on?
Like,
No, my point is that our friends back here came tonight hoping to get some answers to some very serious questions that were brought up. And I think this is why we pushed to have the questions brought forward first, because it's really not fair to put our staff, throw a question matter here, especially about something when it comes to the bylaws and acts like that, and get them expect them to quote it. I just think if they knew the questions in the daytime, they could research the answers, then our friends back here would have their answers. I think that's the way we should be doing.
yeah, and I think in this case, too, I mean, like I said to Councillor Granter at the beginning, because of the relative time period, I know it's difficult for people to get their questions together as well. So, I mean, in this instance, I do have some sympathy for everyone involved, so.
Absolutely.
But yes, I agree. Okay, moving right along. We have minutes, we have two sets of minutes, one from the Committee of the Whole on March 14th. Would someone like to move the approval of those minutes?
So move, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Mr.
Oh,
Mayor.
no. Sorry, go ahead.
Correction of the minutes.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
wasn't there. But the CO 22-023 says I made a motion.
Where is it, that one again?
COW 22-023, grant policy review. Councilor Pender reported. I wasn't at that meeting, Mr. Mayor. Yeah. On the 14th, the COW 22-023, grant policy review.
Oh, that's,
I did send a note earlier in the day that
That's
I wouldn't be
22.
able to attend. And I noticed it's not normally, I don't know if it's this council practice or not, but somebody's absent, it usually says absent with regrets.
23, 22023.
oh, 2203.
Council.
Yeah, 22-023.
Right, that was the, and I guess you were
I was going to.
supposed to present that motion, but you weren't here. That's
I
right.
wasn't here, Mr. Mayor, I don't know. if
That's
I'm
right,
forward.
yeah. Okay.
So just for clarification.
Thank you. No, we should fix that for sure.
Okay.
So with that correction, I'll ask again, all those in favor of
Aye.
approving those minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Counterminded? Carried. And as well, we have a regular meeting on the 22nd. Very short one. Would someone like to move the approval of those minutes?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, thank you. We got stereo. Perfect. Okay, no corrections there, I assume? All those in favor?
Aye.
Counterminded? Carried. Business arising from those minutes?
I do.
Yes, go ahead.
Cal 22018, Public Works. Getting a number of calls from people wondering, and I see that Director Burden is not here tonight, when we will start the potholes. Now, I see some are plugged with sandbags and some are plugged with asphalt or hot patch, whatever it is. But when do we attack that?
That's on a basis of like whenever there's a weather window. I know that there were a number filled there into last week.
When it was
and
warm.
the O'Connell Drive and it's going to become craters over the next number of days as we see water flowing and the road softening up, and that's they will dispatch their crews, but we've been doing it in bits and batches as we can free up resources and not have to plow, of course. Because if we have to, if we're out plowing and doing snow clearing operations, it's not really possible to be doing any pothole repairs. Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Yep, me again. How is that prioritized? Because I do know that we get a lot of calls coming in from people reporting potholes, but who prioritizes which one is going to be done, or is it all done in one area, then we move on to another? Because that's a big question, same as our patch filling or whatever we're doing.
And I guess our supervisors would deal with that at the Public Works. So they would figure out the work schedules, depending on weather, of course, like I said, and determining, I guess, which potholes are probably in high traffic areas and things like that, or are the most dangerous, or whether they're doing patches in that area. So, for example, we bring out our hot box and our crews, and they'll move around and they'll do a bunch that they know of in a certain area and move on, right? So it is a complex thing. I know that the guys had to juggle a lot of balls to keep it moving in a efficient manner.
But they can cover a lot of territory in a day. And I always tell people or ask them to call 637-1666 to report any pothole that's dangerous, especially for markings. We need potholes marked in the city.
That's right, and we need everyone's help to do that.
Yeah.
So as much as you can, please, if you see something, call 637-1666, and they will mark it, as you said. And it might take a number of days, depending on the weather and the availability of resources, but at least if you can get it marked or sandbagged so that people will know about it, it's better than leaving it open. And I would suggest too, because I do get a lot of messages, when I do get direct messages on social media and things like that, I will often call it in myself or put it in. I know you do as well, Deputy. But it is much more efficient to call it in. Follow up with us by all means, but call it in 637-1666 and get it in the queue so that our team knows about it. Okay?
Mr. Mayor, I have an item from business as well.
Yes?
From the March 22nd meeting, 22035, the Corner Brook Regional Recreation Center facade modifications. At the time of the meeting, we asked, because we didn't have a artist rendering to show the public what the design will look like, and we did ask if we would get one coming forward. So I'm just wondering if we are going to get one coming forward, and that we could share that when we do get it with the public.
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Mayor, absolutely. I requested that the next day, and we're still waiting on that.
Perfect.
Okay.
And Mr. Mayor, follow up to that, I did have one person a little upset, I guess, that some trees and shrubs were, I don't know, knocked down, taken down, cut down, whatever. I'm sure, I assured the person that it's Grenfell campus, there will be a beautification program to go with this construction. When it's all said and done, it'll all be put back nice and neat. But anyway, I just thought I'd mention it because, you know, it's like now, right? Our roads are torn up, when they're paved, everybody goes, ooh, ah, nice smooth pavement. But when you're tearing it up, it doesn't look so good. People get concerned. But I'm sure we have a beautification plan as well.
To break an omelet, you got to break some eggs.
That's right. Okay.
And that building is going to get broken before it gets fixed. Okay, anything else there? Okay, next we have proclamations. This is Multiculturalism Month in the city of Corner Brook, and we had a wonderful showing with some of our partners in the community, with some councillors as well. Of course, I saw a wonderful show on Sunday at the Arts Culture Centre, put off by Grenfell Campus, and featured a lot of familiar faces that we see in our community now. And it's great to see, So whereas the City of Corner Brook is committed to the belief that equal opportunity and treatment should exist for all people, and whereas every resident of the City of Corner Brook has the right to realize this, his or her potential, regardless of race, color, national, or ethnic origin, and live at all times in conditions of dignity, respect, and peace. And so therefore, we declare this month Multiculturalism Month in the city of Corner Brook. Next, Councillor Pender, we have an annual expenditure report for the, well, former gas tax, but the Canada Community Building Fund.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the City of Corner Brook requires approval of the annual expenditure report for the Canada Community Building Fund Agreement, as you said, the former gas tax. So as per the requirements of the Canada Community Building Fund Agreement, each year the city is required to prepare and approve a report showing a full and detailed statement of revenue and expenditures of the city related to the Canada Community Building Fund Agreement on an annual basis. In 2021, the city received $1,716,832 in funding and spent $1,485,260 on paving projects. At the end of 2021, the city had $1,551,098 of funds available for additional projects. So, Mr. Mayor, be it resolved to approve the annual expenditure report for Canada Community Building Fund Agreement funding for 2021 as presented. So move.
Thank you. Seconder on that?
I'll second that one.
Thank you. Questions on this? This is a standard report that we have to do, I guess, as a condition of our funding. I see that the auditor gave us a passing grade, so that's reassuring. Any questions? Take it to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Counterminded? Carried. Next, Councillor Gill. Again, Councillor Gill sends her regrets. She is out of town right now. I should have mentioned that at the beginning. We have a discretionary use at 4 Herald Avenue. Deputy, would you do that one for us, if you wouldn't mind?
No problem. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 4 Herald Avenue, discretionary use, 20-unit apartment building. The application was advertised to the public by means of the Western Star and City of Corner Brook's website. The city did not receive any comments or of opposition, and 2 comments in support of the proposed development. The resolution is, be it resolved that the Council of the City of Corner Brook in its authority approve this application for the proposed apartment building at 4 Herald Avenue, Corner Brook. I so move.
Thank you. Would someone like to second that?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Questions on this item?
Mr. Mayor, I got a couple questions.
Go ahead.
The apartment complex that's to be built, would that be for, I'll say, regular residents? Or is not just a seniors apartment complex, it's open to whomever? Would that be an accurate statement?
Mr.
It's not
Charters?
designated as a seniors.
Yeah,
Right.
I know what you mean. Yeah. Mr. Charters?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. We don't know many of the details as of yet. This is just a request for the discretionary use, and then the planning stages for the project would
Right, okay.
commence.
And the other question would be with regard to all the discussions that we've had around this table and accessibility. I assume that this particular building would have accessible units or for people that may be in wheelchairs and all those kinds of things. And you didn't have the answer to the first question, so I assume that would come as we move through that particular process. And one final thought is that I noticed in the description that it does include a parking garage, the redevelopment of the under or the ground floor, or the floor in the basement will be a parking garage, which is always a nice add-on for anyone that's in an apartment building. So that's good to see.
Okay. Any other questions on this?
I'd just like to, I certainly support this, Mr. Mayor. It's wonderful to see, and I guess it's somewhat in line with how the city has been trying to move the last number of years and coming up in our IMSP about trying to put more people in the downtown and avail of the space that we have. And to see somebody come forward with a proposal to renovate a building to put condos or apartments in the downtown is a great step forward, and I think it's something that's very much needed. And I certainly want to commend them and staff for working with them to make that happen. I think it's a great idea.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Comments? Okay, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Counterminded? Carried. Councillor Granter, we have a Crown Land application.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, the City of Corner Brook has received an application from a utility company to utilize Crown land located in the vicinity of Elizabeth Street and the Lone Parkway for the purpose of constructing a distribution power line to provide power to the new hospital. This application entails the requested land to be included in an easement for the construction and maintenance of the power line. Be it resolved to approve the application to utilize Crown land located in the vicinity of Elizabeth Street and Lone Parkway for the purpose of constructing a distribution power line to provide power to the new hospital, subject to the applicant maintaining an unobstructed path along the power line for the movement of fire suppression equipment in the event of a fire, and the applicant obtaining separate approval for installing the poles to ensure adequate infrastructure clearances. So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Questions on this one?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I got a quick question with regard to the aerial photograph that was attached in our package. It's an L-shaped blue section which goes along the Lewin Parkway. So the power line will go parallel to the Lewin Parkway, as well as down to the attachment of Elizabeth Street to some power by the water tank, which is on the top of Elizabeth Street. So that's how it will look. It will come along the Lewin Parkway and then move down towards the water tank.
That's my understanding.
Okay, yep.
Any other questions?
That was going to be my question, Mr. Mayor. I couldn't see it on this map how it's fitting, but now I got it. Okay, thank you.
The only, I guess, thing I'd mention is it sounds like we're requesting access for emergency response. That area, I guess, there is some potential for, bicycle or potentially ATV or snowmobile in that area. And I guess, at this point, do we have any consideration for that, or can we even, this is a Crown Land referral, whether or not we can try and secure that kind of ability, like that route now, or the ability to use that. I'm sure that most utilities don't like to allow this kind of access, but it does. It could be a very useful place. I don't know if there's anything we can do at this point, or do we just have to wait and see and then deal with it when it's built?
The answer I would offer there is that this is a provincially designated highway, so we don't make the calls on this. That said, it's pretty wide area that they're requesting here, and poles are only yay wide, so there would be potential for that, but again, that would be a provincial decision for any of those types of uses.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, there are current trailways, in my understanding, especially snowmobile trailways, that go through power line or access to power line spots as well, even in the routes from around Corner Brook. In that particular area, by the way.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why I mention it, because if we are, I guess, creating these easements, it would make great trails as well where possible. So something that we should keep in mind.
Yep.
Mr. Mayor, just to clarify, didn't the province build an additional pipeline across across from the hospital up behind the Long Lewin Parkway to connect to our tank?
Yep.
So is this the same area? Is this the same? Because I can't make it out of the map exactly.
Mr. Church?
It looks like it's further up. In actual fact, I snowmobiled on that part of it's not a part of the trail, but I snowmobiled up there a few days ago along the new section that was put there over the last 8 or 10 months. But this looks like it's really further up towards the parkway.
Yeah, it'd be further up the Lewin Parkway. I guess the portion you're talking about would probably go more between, say, the tank and the two roads where they converge.
Okay, yeah.
I think, is that right?
I don't have a snowmobile, so I'm not as familiar. But
I'm just looking at it from the road all the time.
The cutover, the new cutover, kind of, if you're looking at the picture there, would, if you see that first to your right, the first dark blacked out section, that the new cutover goes parallel to vertical to that.
Okay.
So it's closer to the Pratt Street, up behind Pratt Street.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, just looking at the Lewin Parkway, it looks like there is a road or a trail or something
Yes,
Going along-
there is, yeah.
Is that the snowmobile trail you were talking about? And would this interfere with it, I guess?
There's a trail there. It's, I don't know, again, I'm not familiar with that area, but I do know that there's a bike, there's like a footpath, kind of narrow trail that goes all along the Lewin Parkway from Boone's Bog on down.
Well, perhaps we can ask staff just to mention it to the proponent
Yeah.
and Crown Lands when they're doing the referral, just to preserve anything that's there currently, at least.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
That's a good idea. Okay, anything else on this one? Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Counterminded? Carried. Next, we have Great Trail Enhancement Phase 2. Councillor Keeping, this is another interesting project.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council support is required to proceed with an application for funding for the Great Trail Enhancement Project, Phase 2, under the Federal Active Transportation Fund. During the summer of 2019, staff worked with consultants to plan and design a better route for the Trans-Canada Trail through Corner Brook. The existing route was unclear, unsafe, and not accessible. Through a public and stakeholder engagement process, a new route was selected with the vision of not only servicing Trans-Canada Trail's needs, but become an active transportation throughout the city. The completion of the route will lead to a more integrated active transportation network within the city, providing essential connections to underlying neighborhoods, Curling and Humber Heights. In 2021, Sustainable Development staff applied for and successfully received funding for Phase 1 of the implementation of the project. At this time, the project scope was limited in order to fit the budgetary restraints of community COVID relief funding offered at the time. Staff now seeks council support to apply for Phase 2 of the project, which will complete upgrades and installation of new active transportation trail from the mill eastward along Riverside Drive, ending at the paved sidewalk near Atlantic Minerals. Phase 2 of the project is estimated to cost $2,191,722 if successfully funded. This cost will be shared with the federal government, covering 60%, and the city to cover 40%. Be it resolved that the Council of the City of Corner Brook support the application for funding to complete Phase 2 of the Great Trail Enhancement Project. I so move, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Would someone like to second that?
I like it, Mr. Mayor.
Right, second.
I second it.
Oh, I thought.
We have to make a
sorry.
motion, yeah. Yes, yes, so now we can talk about it. So any questions on this one?
So I was just going to say, I like the idea, Mr. Mayor, but can we get a copy of the proposal itself? Because it's not attached. Like, where are we going? I don't have it anyway. I thought it was there.
It's going from the mill down
No,
toward
I
Riverside
understand
Drive,
that.
yeah.
They talk about connecting Humber Heights, so I'm just wondering if there's anything else that is going besides the route along Riverside Drive, unless it's just Humber Mouth. When I saw that, I just wondered what the route is.
Yeah, and again, Mr. Chair, I think it is going just along Riverside Drive,
That's the intent of
right?
this
So
piece.
it's an off-road piece.
Yeah, so it's just Humber Mouth, not Humber Heights.
Oh, I didn't,
Yeah, it was written in there, Humber Heights, right? So-
oh, sorry, I missed that.
That's correct.
Okay, no, that's why I was a little confused, because I thought the original idea was to go Riverside Drive up to Atlantic Minerals, which is states there, but it does say about Humber Heights connecting Curling. So I was just curious about where the Humber Heights connection was.
Oh, no, yeah, I think it said it's providing ways to
Humber
connect Curling and Humber Heights, not directly, but
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor, but can we get a copy of the proposal itself so we can have a look at it?
My apologies, I thought that was attached, but I will send that out to council so we can have a look.
Thank you.
okay, thank you. Any other questions? Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so the federal government's going to cover 60% and the city's going to cover 40%.
Yep, that's,
If approved
if we
by
get it.
us or approved by federal government?
Both.
If approved by both. Have we got this in our budget? Is it a line item in our budget, or will we have to?
We wouldn't have it specifically
No, this is a
noted
note.
right now, right? This is just wishful thinking right now.
This is just to apply for that. If we
Okay.
were lucky enough to get funded, then we would budget accordingly.
So what would the timeline be on that, Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Charters?
Well, I'll assume the best and say that we're going to get it. That depends on when we get the announcement, but nothing would happen this year for sure. We've got the first phase to deal with, and that could take a couple of years, so.
Okay, so we actually could do a line item in our budget?
Yeah, with capital projects like this, it's
Absolutely,
usually a
yeah.
little bit of a hit and miss depending on which funding we get.
Well,
So, yeah, this would be something that we'd have to, and this one's just federal, right?
Yeah.
I
It's not
believe so.
provincial.
Yeah, so there's a few less hoops sometimes, so
Okay.
hopefully soon. Any other questions? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. Contraminded? Good. Again, you'll never score on 100% of the shots you don't take. So, okay, we have a grant policy we brought forward a while back for discussion, and now we have something close to, well, hopefully finalized. Deputy Mayor, if you would, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At a committee of the whole meeting on March 14, 2022, a draft copy of the grant policy was brought forward for council's review and consideration. Council approved the amended policy with one revision as follows. Changes to the disbursement process of approval grants are to be paid in installments from 25% up to 75% when completed, up to 50% upfront, and 50% when completed. This change has been incorporated to the attached grant policy, and the policy is now being brought forward again for council approval. The major changes to the revised policy include different types of grants and corresponding criteria. Standing operational grants will be budgeted under departmental budget. A staff committee will be comprised to review grant submissions and make recommendations based on the application. Upon approval of this new grant policy, the current grant policy will be rescinded and replaced with the new proposed grant policy effective March 29, 2022. Proposed resolution: be it resolved that the Council of the City of Corner Brook rescind and replace the grant policy as proposed. I so move.
Thank you very much. Seconder on that one?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Questions?
I guess we did discuss this in public and we brought it forward, but just to the disbursement process, I wonder, Mr. Mayor, if you or somebody could go through what they mean by 25 up front, 75% when completed, to 50 up front, 50%. So there's two different options that we're offering. And can I, as a grant, person who's looking for a
Yeah.
grant, can I pick which one I want and how is it going to be
I think
done?
we changed, the recommended was 25-75, but council felt that it might be worthwhile to give them a little more upfront.
Okay,
So it's
so we're going to
50/50
include
now.
both of it?
No, just the 50/50.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah. And that's on the smaller ones as well,
50/50.
right? Yeah.
okay.
Makes sense, I guess, on the, if it's a sub $2,000 thing and a neighborhood group wants to get together to do some beautification project, obviously you need a few bucks up front, don't it?
Okay.
And so we can trust everyone enough to give them 50/50.
Yeah, so there's no choice, we don't have a...
No, we just
Okay,
changed it in
perfect,
the
okay.
reg, yeah.
Is it confusing?
Any other questions? No, this is great. I think that, again, we'll have to get some marketing on this, some communications on it.
That was a nice time.
To promote, I guess, this new type of grant. And so it's not just established groups, but also neighborhoods and, people who have some gumption, who want to take on a project to make their part of the world better. Great. We want to help those people.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, just add to that we had a really good finance committee meeting. Most of council, I think 4 people were there from council. We went through it all, yourself and our staff, and I think with everybody's input, we came up with a really good option here that allows, as you said, people to come throughout the year, apply for funding for various projects. There's different types of projects they can do and different pots of money, and it makes the whole process more streamlined. And I think it's a very worthwhile policy change. So I commend all council on that one.
Thank you. Okay, we're ready to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Counterminded? Carried. Last but not least, Councillor Griffin, we have a notice of motion, and we've discussed this in the committee of the whole, of course, and now it's coming forward. This is a bylaw change, so it requires notice of motion. If you would, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before I start this, I just had I mentioned to a few councillors earlier, I had a call last Thursday night from one of the owner of one of the cab companies who's listed here, who said that he didn't know anything about this, and so I suggested that he get in contact with Director Flynn. So it's still here, so I'm going to assume that it's looked at.
He contacted the city. There was a miscommunication on their end.
Okay.
But they sorted it out.
Okay, thank you. The city has been approached by a representative of City Taxi, Star Taxi, Corner Taxi, requesting that the city amend the taxi regulations to implement a fuel surcharge to the current taxi rates. Over the past several months, taxi owners have seen significant increases in fuel costs that are challenging the feasibility of their operations. To help deal with this situation, taxi companies are requesting that the city permit the addition of $2 fuel surcharge when their fuel costs exceed $1.65 per liter. The fee schedule depicting current taxi rates is as follows. Current taxi rates, the drop rate is $4.13 per 1.125 kilometers, 26 cents, and standby time, waiting time, is 34 cents, 34.5 cents. Here we go. As required by the City of Corner Brook, a notice of motion is required for the amendment, repeal, and passing of bylaws, regulations of the City of Corner Brook. Therefore, a notice of motion is being brought forward to amend Schedule D of the city taxi regulations to allow for the $2 fuel surcharge to be applied as referenced above. As per Section 39 of the City of Corner Brook Act, a notice of motion is brought forward as pursuant to the powers vested in it by virtue of Section 229 of the City of Corner Brook Act 1990 and all other enabling powers. The Council of the City of Corner Brook hereby amends the taxi regulation 2018 as follows. Add the following provision to Schedule D, a fuel surcharge. A $2 fuel surcharge may be applied to the current drop rate when the price of self-serve regular unleaded motor fuel for Zone 6 exceeds $1.65 per liter as and when identified by the Newfoundland and Labrador Board of Commissions of Public Utilities.
Okay, and as this is a notice of motion, we will not be debating this now. This is just a notice for the public, and we'll bring this back, of course, a subsequent meeting to debate. Okay? Okay, that being the end of the agenda, I will declare this meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.